Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. We are going to kick this off today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It is a pleasure to see everybody. My name is Chris Winter. I'm the Executive Director of the Getchus Wilkinson here at Colorado Law School. Very happy to have you all with us today. Before we kick it off, I want to do a quick sound check. Can everybody hear me? We're having, I think, a little bit of AV so-so. I'm hearing some so-sos in the back, some thumbs up. No. Okay, I will yell until we get this sorted out, and hopefully I'm the only one that will have to yell today. So it's such a pleasure to have everybody here with you. Thank you so much for joining us. This is our 46th annual summer conference on natural resources at Colorado Law School for the Getchus Wilkinson Center. So hard to believe it's been 46 years, but here we are. And we've got a packed room today, so I'm going to kick it off with a few logistics. We still have a couple seats up front. I know everybody loves to sit in the front row, so don't be shy. And we also have a couple overflow rooms upstairs if you prefer a little bit more space, so feel free to use those as well, rooms 204 and 205. And we're live streaming everything into the overflow rooms upstairs, so you'll be able to hear everything. Lunch today is going to be served on the second floor as well, so please join us up there. After the program today, there'll be a reception upstairs as well. And so we certainly hope you can join us for the reception and get a chance to mingle and see your friends. The door is right outside here. It's really the only way to get into the building. So if you parked in the back, please come around into these main doors here. You should be able to get in and out during the day. It's a beautiful day out, so you might be able to enjoy some sun, fresh air during the breaks. And let's see, parking. So for those of you who have been with us before, you know this is our favorite topic of conversation around here, our parking situation. So we have hopefully ironed some of the wrinkles in the parking system. Hopefully it's working for everyone. If you do happen to get a ticket today, don't freak out. It's okay. It's probably going to happen to a few of you. I might get a ticket today. But if you do get a ticket, just take a photo of it, hang on to it, reach out to us after the conference, and we'll do everything we can to help you get it resolved. So yeah, don't freak out if you get a parking ticket. Okay, so I wanted to kick us off with a few very important thank yous, including our partners. So, of course, I want to start by recognizing the Water and Tribes Initiative, who's co-convening this event with us today. I know Daryl is in the room with us. Hi, Daryl. There's Daryl, Matt McKinney, everyone who has been involved, and there's been many people involved in driving WTI forward, and we're so grateful for their wisdom, the experiences, the vision that they've shared with us. And all the hard work that they've put into making WTI a success for its community. So thanks to them, and again, everyone who contributes to the success of WTI. We're also very grateful for our friends who have stepped up to sponsor the event, including the Walton Family Foundation, Conscience Bay Company, Berg Hill Greenleaf City, Somac Simmons and Dunn, and the Native American Rights Fund. So please join me in giving them all a round of applause. We have many other sponsors as well in the program, so please take a look at all the wonderful organizations that have helped to make this event a success. I also wanted to take a moment to recognize and thank my colleagues here at the Getchus Wilkinson Center who have worked so hard to make this event a success year in and year out. Oh, good, we have a mic. Excellent. Okay, is that better? Yes. Okay, great. Thank you. Our AV team is also amazing. But the team here at the Getchus Wilkinson Center is such a pleasure. There's Annie Carlozzi right there, she's sitting down to avoid the spotlight. Annie's amazing. Thank you, Annie. Doug Kenny is right here. Yes, Doug. Daniel Anderson is a water law fellow. Is Daniel in the room? Where is Daniel? Okay. He's working hard. And then Ty Benali, I want to recognize Ty. Is Ty in the room? So Ty is going to start as our water law fellow next year. She just graduated from University of New Mexico Law School, studying for the bar exam, and she'll be here as well. So if you see Ty, please introduce yourself. And I'd also like to Anyway, can we just give our staff here at GWC a quick round of applause? Okay. Thanks. Okay, I have a note here from Annie that says, please ask people to scoot in and make room. So I think we have more people outside, so please help your friends find a seat. Okay, so I know that we also have several Colorado law students with us for the evening. They've been volunteering or they're just here to learn and soak up all this amazing information. So if you get a chance, please introduce yourself to one of the amazing law students and get to know them. They are truly the heart and soul of this institution, and I can't tell you how much of a privilege and a pleasure it is to be able to work with the students here at Colorado Law day in and day out. So please find an opportunity to connect with one of our incredible students here. So now, as we gather for this event over the next couple days, it's important, I think, to start by honoring and acknowledging that the University of Colorado Law School and the entire University of Colorado campus are on the ancestral and traditional homelands of the Ute, Arapaho, and Cheyenne people, and further we acknowledge the 48 contemporary tribal nations historically tied to the lands that are now called the state of Colorado. And it's a privilege for all of us to be here together today for this event. And we like to start our events with that land acknowledgement, but I think we also know that this is really just a starting point for recognizing and honoring the experiences of tribes and respecting tribal sovereignty. So I also want to thank all of the Indigenous people who have joined us for this year's conference, for sharing your wisdom, for joining us in conversation about the future of the Colorado River. And it is truly an honor to have you with us today. So thank you for being here. And lastly, I wanted to let you know about a recent white paper that was just released by the group that's been called the Traveling Wilburys of the Colorado River. I guess a veritable supergroup. And that includes Ann Castle, who's a senior fellow at the Getchell Wilkinson Center. Where is Ann? Hi, Ann. Ann's over there. So their most recent paper is an update to one that they did last year on the decline of reservoir storage in Lake Powell and Lake Mead. And this one is called Colorado River Basin Storage Continues Slide Towards System Crash. Not an optimistic title. They've taken a detailed look at what happens if next year is the same as 2025. A dry year, but definitely not as dry as the year we're experiencing right now. So the results are a bit grim, and the Colorado River system would be dangerously close to run-of-the-river operations. That would be unprecedented. And they're advocating for immediate action to reduce consumptive use. So there's some serious policy implications that flow from their predictions. So we have some copies out front. I encourage you to take a look. And I hope during the break we can maybe figure out who is the Bob Dylan of the Traveling Wilburys, who is the Roy Orbison, because I think that metaphor, we can take that quite a ways. So anyway, thank you so much, Ann, for being here and for sharing your wisdom with us. Okay, now with that, it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce the Dean of the Colorado Law School, Dean Lolita Buckner-Innes, who will share some opening remarks. And Dean Innes, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Chris, for that kind invitation, or kind welcome, and for the invitation to be here today. I'm going to start off by apologizing that I cannot spend more time with you during the course of this conference because I have to run to several other meetings. However, I must say that this is truly one of the most meaningful and exciting activities that we do every year here at Colorado Law. I want to thank you all for being here and welcome you to the 2026 Colorado Law Conference on Natural Resources. This is our 46th year. I want to pause for a moment to say that has special meaning. As some of you know, I am a Californian, an identity that I wear on my sleeve. I'm a fourth generation Angelino, which says a lot about me in terms of my general outlook in life. I'm also, however, on my father's side, an historic Coloradan. My great-grandparents, my great-great-grandparents actually moved here not long after the Civil War. And so we've been connected with this part of the country and this part of the world for a very long time. But getting back to the fact that I am from California, I will tell you that one of the first things that I did when I recognized that this was our 46th year was to look it up and find out what that meant in numerology. Now, to be fair, that's not my first impulse in everything, but sometimes it is. And I thought it was really notable to find out that the number 46 in numerology stands very often for self-determination, it stands for having long horizons, and it stands for building a strong foundation for the future. And I think that that is so very apt for the work that we have been doing here for 46 years, both with this conference and more generally in this area. Because I think, of course, as we know, the challenges in front of us are historic, but they're not insurmountable. The way forward runs straight through the kind of honest, sometimes hard conversations that we have over the course of this conference with people sitting down together, listening, and doing the work, which is what all of us have been doing. We are so honored to give you a place to do that, and we are thrilled that you have come here at a time when it matters the most. Now, Chris already thanked our sponsors. However, I want to begin by thanking again the Water and Tribes Initiative, who is co-convening this gathering with the GWC for the 4th year running. The partnership has come to define this event, and we are deeply, deeply grateful for it. I also want to offer a very special welcome to the tribal leaders and speakers here today. We are honored by your presence, and we recognize and respect your sovereignty, and we're grateful for the chance to learn from the traditional knowledge that you carry about the Colorado River as a living river, not just a resource, not just something to fuel projects. For too long, the story of this river has been a fight on how to split it up. In fact, for myself, as someone who's from California and especially from Los Angeles, frankly, that is how we grew up. You know, how much are we going to get and will it keep coming? I think we all have gotten far past that kind of perspective, and we understand that what is needed is a shared commitment to protect and sustain the river, not just for the present, but for the many generations that will follow. We have seen that that is all the more possible when sovereignty of the tribes is truly honored. So I also want to say to our tribal leaders and to our tribal youth, thank you so much for being here. We have a great deal to learn from you. Let me also thank federal officials who are joining us from the Bureau of Reclamation and the Department of the Interior. I've had a chance to speak with a few of you. Your being here reflects a real commitment to engaging directly with the people most invested in this shared resource. You wear a lot of hats, and I recognize that. Your decision makers, your trustees for the tribes in the basin, your funding partners, and operators of some of the largest infrastructure in the country, and we are so glad to have you with us. I also want to recognize the colleagues leading throughout the states the extraordinarily difficult negotiations. There are probably fewer negotiations that are more delicate. You have put in countless hours to represent and protect not only your states at a time when the stakes could not be higher, but also you come together with a collaborative vision of what is needed at this time. We see your work and we honor it and we thank you. The challenges are real in hydrology and climate, in equity, in politics, in governance, in policy, and still I think we have the opportunity to be hopeful. We have the chance to build that strong foundation that the number 46 stands for. So when I look around, I am hopeful. As we head into the conversations over the course of the next few days, I want to leave you with a few words from Professor Charles Wilkinson, the late, great Professor Wilkinson, who thought as deeply as anyone about water, the public interest, and the possibilities for reform. In a 2006 article titled, "Have We Kept Faith with the Rivers of the West?" he closed this way. We all have our own river. We each love our river, its runs and its riffles, its sounds and smells. We love its rush on top and the life underneath. Tell people in private and in public, about how you love your river. That love, the frank and the open telling of it, and the hard work in its name, that's what is changing the law and the rivers, and that's what will continue to change them. And so with those words, I say again, thank you so very much for all of you that are here. Thank you for your wisdom, and thank you also to those who are watching remotely. Thank you for your wisdom, for your care for the Colorado River, and for taking on the very hard work ahead so the river can sustain those who come after us the way that it has sustained those of us over the course of its history. And so once again, thank you all so very much, and I wish you great enjoyment and great success over the next couple of days. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Ennis. We're so grateful you were here with us this morning. Okay, I would love to bring Daryl up on stage now. Good morning, Daryl.
Good morning. Yeah, welcome everybody, and I think the welcome has been extended by the dean and by Chris, and I also extend that welcome to all of you for making your way here, as been mentioned, for the fourth time, and I can't tell you, how grateful I am and humbled in terms of our relationship with CU Boulder, and it extends because. I have family that went to school here. They're just sitting over there. And in terms of Benny Shendo and his little brother who went to school with Talia Bear here. And he sold enchiladas, Hamus Enchiladas here in Boulder. What a cool thing. So I feel definitely a connection here with my CU family. And I just wanted, before I get going a little bit too much on other things, I want to recognize, he's watching right now, but, my dear friend and partner, Dr. Matt McKinney. Who would have thought that an old Indian guy and an old white guy, could be of service, together in terms of our joint history and where we came from, being so kind of different. And I think that's kind of a testament, to what's happening in the basin right now. So I love you, Dr. Matt McKinney, and thank you for all you've done to help me in my personal journey and my growth. And I'll always be grateful to you. And I'll always be grateful to Doug, who knew Matt before I did, and, made this a possibility in thinking about how can we share what we know, our experience, strength, and hope with the broader basin and hopefully with the broader world. And so, grateful for that. So thanks, Matt. I know you're watching. And if you don't know, he grew up here in Boulder, and he grew up his parents lived in Estes Park. And he hasn't been here because on consecutive years, his mom and dad passed away on the same date, 1 year apart. I know he's very private, and he probably wouldn't want to share that ever except with his close friends. But I just want to say all those things because, that's who Matt McKinney is. And I really appreciate you. And then just thinking about the River family, our River family. And I talk a lot about our River family, and it definitely is true. And please forgive me if this is a little vulgar, but, one of the things is that I've got to be on river trips. And so I've got to chat in the most beautiful places in the world with you all. Thank you. It's called the Groover. And so, when 10 years ago when we started this journey, Matt and I, after, being honored of being 10 Tribes Partnership Chair and being my tribe's water administrator and those kind of things, one of the things that absolutely was present for us when we did our first exploration was toward a sense of the basin in terms of two things. Over 150 interviews with all of you, most of you in this room probably, And two things came from those interviews that gave us our marching orders and our direction. And what were those? You all said that you wanted a healthy, sustainable living Colorado River. Overwhelmingly, you said that. There wasn't anybody who said, I don't care about the river. And then when we asked you, we asked two questions. What is your personal relationship? What's your professional relationship? We spent all the time talking about your personal relationships, including one where we were told that they were conceived on the Colorado River. John Weishaupt. Anyway, and so that value, those values, and the overriding second one was tribal involvement. You said that. You all did. And maybe the structures and the constructs weren't conducive to that, but we continue that journey in terms of how the marching orders we got from you in terms of our ability to be of service. And thank you to our 16-member leadership team who's been with us nearly 10 years. Most of them been with us for 10 years, and as Matt says, I think you're just scared about what we're going to do. So, and grateful for their direction. And right now we're in the midst of releasing publicly our 6th policy brief on sovereignty. And I don't say tribal sovereignty because it's a policy brief that's on sovereignty in general. And it's something that we're absolutely excited about because it took 2.5 years of collective work from our leadership team and some of the best and brightest minds in the basin, like Peter Culp, and always be grateful because the feedback that we got was and the work that was done was pretty incredible. And special thanks to the primary author and Jason Robertson from the University of Wyoming. Couldn't have done it without his commitment and passion and shepherding the group and getting policy brief number 6 established. And I'll just say this one thing about policy brief number 6 before I hand it over and we can get this conference going with Roger, but is why is it so near and dear to my heart? And it's so near and dear to my heart because, my hero in my life is my father, Tom B. Hill. I might get a little emotional because he was one of the people, the talent at the time that was recruited to draft the Indian Self-Determination Act. And so this policy brief on sovereignty becomes, full circle for me in terms of, the privilege that I had to be his son. And he's my hero, absolutely. And why is this important? Because when we talk about sovereignty, it's so important to know, and what's going to happen here in just a little while is kind of an example of that. Sovereignty, the way we look at it is that it's given to us by the Creator. And if that's the case in terms of making us and creating us to be who we are as individual tribal sovereigns, unique and beautiful in our own way. And the thing about that kind of sovereignty is that nobody can take that away except the Creator himself. Nobody can give that to us because it was already given to us. And so that becomes very germane in the foundational context of the relationships of this country. And if we can do anything to provide guidance in the trajectory of those relationships, and that's what that's our pathway. And so I think, we're really excited about that, and it's very consistent with everything that we've done here. But I just want to say that, I am so appreciative because I think I pretty much know everybody in this room. And if you can imagine, if I know everybody in this room, the ripple effect of all those people that this thing's pretty incredible. And thanks to CU for the past 4 years of being able to broadcast, to a broader audience that maybe can't make it here, that can listen and share and participate in the inclusion of a Colorado River Basin conversation. And for me, you know, in Zia, they call it China. You know, it's the China is just one of the most important things in our life. My grandma said we come from there, we go back to there, water gives you life, but water can also take life. And in this time of, at the background of of climate change, this becomes the most important conversation in our area, in my opinion, in our lifetime, in terms of the existential threat. Thank you for agreeing with me. And I can't express more how important these conversations are. Any conversation is important. And the fact that we have the tribal participation is moving and absolutely, it warms my heart because that wasn't the case just maybe 10, 15 years ago. But I like to call them cows. You know, we have a lot of, the Colorado River Basin is just full of cows, not the kind of cows you're thinking of, but the Coalition of the Willing. So be a cow. I'm going to have a t-shirt made that says, be a cow. So at this time, you know, last year we had Brophy Toledo from Jemez Pueblo do the invocation for us and was very grateful for that. And this year, based on that, you know, we decided that we would ask Roger and have us honor us by providing an invocation. And so I'd like to introduce Roger Flower from Flower Hill Institute and from the Tribal Energy Consortium, my relative also from Jemez Pueblo. And so pretty weird to have relatives. Where's the chairman of Kisan, Coteen? Is he here? Because the last name Coteen is a variant of Ishkoten. So he's Hikaria, but he's the chair at Kisan. Wow, I have relatives in Yuma. So with that, thank you so much for being here. And I was just, when I was driving here, I was like, I can't wait to see this person. I can't wait to see that person. And, you know, I have this idea I want to share with them, you know, and I get to share that with you all. And so thank you for letting us be a part of this program, CU Boulder, and thank you WTI leadership, and thank you to the rest of the basin who participates in this Coalition of the Willing. So thank you.
Good morning. Daryl said he knew everybody in the room. He said with great anticipation he was driving here and excited to meet all of these folks. As I was driving here, I was calling Patty Limerick. I'm not driving to Boulder without calling Patty, my dear friend, who's opened these doors, at least for me and maybe others, and who has opened many doors here at CU over the life of her career. I had the honor of meeting Patty in the late 80s, worked with her all the way through the early 90s and even to today. And very honored to have had dinner with her last night. And I exchanged a story with her before I left the table last night that I wanted to share. I just thought it might be appropriate to share with you at the sunset of a previously very challenging time during COVID. One of the first outings that I had, I went to the RES conference. It's a National Indian Conference. It was the first one after COVID, and I was just wondering like who's going to be there, how it was going to look. Are we all going to be recognizable with masks, or you know, how many of us are still here? How many of us are no longer here? So as I went to that conference, there was a gentleman there who was about 80 years old, and he had his wares spread out over the table, and he was selling crafts and arts from the Northwest. I have a Northwest affinity. And this gentleman was about 80 years old and Inuit, and he had walrus tusk and seal fur this and, you know, the things that, and I was really intrigued in him. I'm holding up his, you know, his wares and looking at him. I said, oh, Climate Change Central. He said, and I figured he's like past 80, and I said, I leaned into him, said, maybe he just didn't hear me. I said, Climate Change Central. He still shook his head. I thought, not Climate Change Central? He goes, oh, you people. And I thought, oh. I said, can I sit down? He said, sure. So I sat down with him and I said, the icebergs aren't melting, the seas aren't rising, I mean, the temperatures aren't, there's no change going on. He said, no, that's not it. And I said, oh, I'm gonna learn something. What is it? If that's not it, what is it? He said, you know, when I was a little boy, he's 80, when I was a little boy, my grandfather would take me out and we'd look way out on the ice. And my grandfather would sing the sun as it set in its cradle. Way out there on the ice, there was a divot in the ground, and that sun would sit there, and his grandfather would sing a lullaby to the sun to let it sit and rest. And he said, we're not doing that anymore. The sun doesn't sit there anymore. And I thought, oh my goodness, the sun doesn't sit where it's supposed to sit. We've got a much bigger problem going on. So as I come, and I shared that story with Patty last night in hopes that, you know, those who know me, and many people in the room don't, not everybody in the room knows me like Daryl, but those who know me know I'm highly underqualified to present an invocation, especially during these unprecedented times. I'm a 1,000-year-old farmer, I am. And this year, we don't have a snowpack on Redondo, our headwaters. We don't have water in the river. We already started the water rotation in our little river already in May. That's usually an August event. And I dug a well in my front yard. I've got a shade structure that's coming up because we know it's going to be 104. And so we're doing things that are unprecedented during these unprecedented times. So we think we're living in unprecedented times politically, socially, economically, environmentally. And I would agree, you know, but I think to have this unprecedented time, you know, and have us come together as a convening, I would like to ask for help from Chairman Lamar and others, and Gushan and Chairwoman Flores, Chairwoman, sorry, and any other leader, young people, please rise and join us and help me with this invocation, because I can't do it alone. And please help us, please rise our Indigenous people. And in our own way, in our own language, out loud, let's do what that grandfather was asking that we do. Let's do it together, because I'm not qualified to do it by myself. I think it's gonna really take all of us together to participate in this invocation in our own way. Your Quran, your Bible, your Torah, your temple, your kiva, all of us, let's all pray together, because that's what it's gonna take, all of us together. These seats are not empty. They're those elders that have gone on in the spirit world. We're spiritual beings, we're sharing this human existence. Those spiritual beings are still here in spirit form. The unborn that are coming are already here. So let's do this together, because I'm not qualified to do this by myself. So pray in our own way, and pray in our own way for guidance, for understanding, for compassion, for listening with 2 ears and talking with 1 mouth, and really listening critically to each other, and share between each other that river is living. All water is living. All water is important. So let's all pray together and pray out loud. Creator, we come to you today with humbleness, with great respect, that you'll be compassionate to us. You'll take pity on us. You'll recognize our intent, our sincerity, as we think about those winged, finned, four-legged, micro, pollinator, plant, wind, water, all these living entities that make this life so important and worth living for all of us. Give us compassion and respect for each other, to be able to listen to each other, to understand each other, to think about each other first before ourselves. We pray, Creator, that you'll give us this opportunity to spend this time together and value this time together. There's lots of places we could be, but we're here. There's no coincidence, there's no accident. we're here with a purpose. Have us fulfill that purpose. Spend time with you and honor you, and spend time with each other and honor each other. Thank you.
You hadn't.
Thank you.